Once upon a time in the ancient land of Greece, there lived a king named Midas. King Midas was a very wealthy man who ruled over a prosperous kingdom. However, despite all his riches, he was not content. Midas was obsessed with gold. His love for gold overwhelmed every other aspect of his life, and he spent his days counting his treasures and dreaming of having even more. One day, as King Midas sat in his garden, he encountered an old satyr named Silenus. Silenus, who was a loyal follower of the god Dionysus, had wandered away from his group and fallen asleep in the king's beautiful rose garden. Rather than punish the strange creature, Midas took pity on him and offered him food and shelter. Delighted by Midas' kindness, Silenus stayed at the palace for several days, amusing the king with his tales of faraway lands. When Dionysus learned about Midas' hospitality towards Silenus, he decided to grant King Midas a wish as a reward. The god appeared before Midas in a burst of light and asked what he desired most in the world. Without a moment's hesitation, Midas exclaimed, "I wish that everything I touch would turn to gold." Dionysus was well aware of the dangers of such a wish. He granted it nonetheless. The next morning, Midas awoke eager to test his new power. He touched the bedpost, and it gleamed with the luster of pure gold. Excitedly, he raced through his palace, turning chairs, tables, and vases into gold. Overjoyed with his newfound power, Midas decided to throw a grand feast to celebrate. But as he reached for a grape, it turned to solid gold in his hand. His bread, his meat, his wine, all turned to gold as soon as he touched them. He could neither eat nor drink. His joy quickly turned to sorrow when his daughter, whom he cherished more than all the gold in the world, ran to greet him. Forgetting all else, Midas reached out to embrace her. To his horror, she transformed into a golden statue. The once jubilant king was stricken with grief, realizing the terrible price of his wish. Desperate to rid himself of the curse, Midas called upon Dionysus. The compassionate god told him to seek the River Pactolus and wash his hands in its waters. Midas followed Dionysus' instructions with hope in his heart. As he dipped his hands into the flowing river, he felt the heavy weight of the golden touch leaving him. From that day on, King Midas understood the true value of the things that could not be bought with gold. He cherished his family and friends above all else. King Midas ruled wisely over his kingdom, forever known not for his wealth, but for the wisdom he gained from his experiences. And thus, the legend of the Golden Touch served as a reminder to all that true happiness lies not in wealth, but in love and the simple pleasures of life.